Science is precise, as am I. Eric Tay, we're talking about Caustic, the toxic trapper. What's the brief rundown on this guy?
Yeah, Caustic is a defensive legend. He has the Nox gas trap as well as the Nox gas grenade. Both great for area denial, both great for kind of holding smaller spaces. You don't want to be caught in the gas, because if you get caught in the gas, not only are you glowing green, but you're also slowed and probably not having a good time.
Gastown, USA. All right, let's start with Caustic's tactical ability, Nox gas traps. Tay, you get 3 of them, right?
Yeah, you get 3 at one time. You can drop up to potentially 6. It's on a cooldown, of course. But yeah, the gas traps are pretty key, like in small areas or maybe even laying behind you, because if someone runs by it, they're going to trigger it. It's going to slow them. They're going to get a little bit of damage. It makes it so that it triggers your passive ability as well, which we'll talk about later, which then makes it easier to target the enemy. The gas is really annoying, basically. Yeah. And you pretty much want to do this to, block off doors, or, as mentioned earlier, lay it behind you as like a just in case to alarm you and your team as to someone possibly coming from your flanks. But yeah.
Yeah, and I would say also, laying that down to revive a fellow teammate, right? Like, that's the first thing you want to do, because no one's really going to go in there. Sure, they'll chuck grenades, and maybe I worry about, like, a bloodhound who can see through, but for the most part, that's a good tactic to have, to throw those down to revive people on your team. Anything else about the gas trap?
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, you can throw them near knocked enemies as well, and you can shoot them yourself to trigger them if you want to, or as bait to, possibly get somebody that's going to revive them. It is worth noting, again, you can shoot them to trigger them. Sometimes, in close quarters battles, you kind of want to do that to scare them away or to kind of deny them that area. They can't get in on you, right? Because they don't want to get into the gas. And 2, if you are seeing the gas traps as an opponent, you want to shoot the kind of like red cylindrical area at the bottom, because that actually gets rid of the traps. Certain legends can kind of deal with them slightly differently. Mirage can send a decoy at it. I think Wraith can sometimes send some. I think Bloodhound might be able to scan for them.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I bet he could. Yeah, and worth noting that when disarming enemy Caustic traps, you're going to want to use something a little precise, not like a shotgun like I found out.
Reloading.
You literally kill me by doing that.
So be careful how you disarm them.
Yeah, you can also pick them up if you decide, like, hey, we're leaving an area and I want to have 3 gas cans.
Moving on to the passive ability, Nox Vision. What can you tell me about this?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Basically, if the gas is triggered, it allows you to see the enemies easier. They are highlighted in green. I believe also your teammates can see them highlighted in green. So it's kind of like a mini Bloodhound ult in a way where, once they're stuck in the gas, not only do you see kind of like the dot damage, but you're like, oh, they're going to be easier pickings because they're slowed, and now I can really see them and they're highlighted for me.
Right. Like, that's the best part about Caustic, is he can live in his own gas and take advantage of people who are stuck in it. So yeah, your passive ability Nox Vision doesn't just work for your gas traps, right? It also works for your ultimate, which is essentially more gas, right?
Yeah, the Nox gas grenade is a canister that you throw into a certain area, almost like a Bangalore, and basically once it hits, it spreads a wide area of gas. And there's multiple applications here. You can kind of throw it as area denial. You can throw it at, maybe some knocked opponents so that they can't get revived. You can also throw it like near you so that, because as you mentioned earlier, you don't take damage as Caustic in the gas, right? So then now you can potentially revive your teammates safer because the enemy's not going to want to get near the gas because they're going to get slowed. So great for that, as well as flanking, I believe, is one of the tips that the game itself says. Use the gas to kind of flank. I will say that with the Nox gas grenade and even the traps, though, you should be mindful about how you use it, because even though it is negative to the opponents, it's kind of detrimental to your teammates too. Unless maybe you're a Bloodhound and you happen to have the ultimate ability to help you see through that gas. I used to play a lot of Caustic with you, and I was having a grand old time because it's like, oh yeah, the gas is great and I can live in it, and everyone doesn't want to be in it. But then it turns out your teammates don't want to be in it either, because they don't take damage, but they're like slowed. They can't really see. You can't really fight that way.
Right, you literally can't sprint when you're in a teammate's Caustic gas. Yeah, that's well put. And if you're thinking about like the rings closing in, right, and it's getting tense, you don't want to prohibit your team from having like mobility, right? Like there's a case by case for like when you want to blanket a whole area with gas. Any other final tips with Caustic?
Yeah, I mean, I think mainly just be smart about how you use your traps. Trigger them yourself if you need to, because one, you don't want to really piss off your teammates, but two, you want to use it effectively against the enemy. Sometimes you can actually hole up in buildings with the traps because, you put them near the doors, you're blocking the doors with them, and the enemies can kind of see the silhouette and be like, oh, there's a caustic in here. We don't really have the grenades to deal with this. Let's not deal with them, right? So good for small areas, I think, but also just be a good teammate and know where you're kind of throwing the gas. Maybe even tell, if you can, one of your teammates to play Bloodhound so that they have a way to kind of deal with your gas as well.
Absolutely. Well, great. Breathe it in. That was Caustic. For more Apex Legend guides, stay tuned to GameSpot.